for a high quality Nintendo Switch controller, something that's a little bigger and a little thicker for those of us with bigger hands, maybe something that has a bit of a light show included with it. Do I have you intrigued? I probably do. If I do, please check out my review of the NYXi wireless joypad controller coming up next on Mumbles. Mario, don't even think about it. Ow! Hi everyone, Mumbles here. Today we are switching things up as I'm doing a review on the Nintendo Switch controller. I know some of you are like, oh, Mumbles puns. I know. But guys, before we do any more puns or get into this review any further, I do have to ask, if this is your first time here, please do consider using your Mario powers to smack that subscribe button so that we can shoot up them YouTube charts. Thank you guys all so much for the support. Now, on to the review. Guys, today, as I said, we are reviewing this Nintendo Switch controller. First things first, I do want to say, this thing is basically a normal Nintendo Switch controller. It has all the features of other Nintendo Switch controllers on the market, even the official Nintendo Switch controllers. The only thing that is different from this controller to the official Nintendo Switch controller, button-wise and control-wise, is the fact that it cannot do amiibos. Other than that, it can do everything that the normal Nintendo Switch controller can do. It has gyro control. It has motion control. It can be used in handheld mode. It can be used in controller mode. It can be used as one controller in each hand. You can do all that stuff with this controller. So basically, as I said, you have basically a standard controller. So basically today, I'm going to cover the things that make this thing non-standard, the things that make it different from other Nintendo Switch controls on the market. So with going with that difference, this thing obviously can be used to replace a normal Joy-Con controller. The first thing I want to cover today is that this controller is a little bit bigger than other controllers I reviewed, and especially bigger than the official Nintendo Switch controller. This thing is just bigger all around. The buttons are bigger, and the controller sticks are bigger. So if you have big hands, or you want something that's bigger like that, this thing has them. The second thing that this thing has is an ergonomic grip. Now, I've reviewed other controllers that have ergonomic grips, and this one does a fantastic job of giving you a 100% relaxed ergonomic fit. You won't have to worry about, straining your hands or stretching your hands too far over anything. It just fits nicely in the palm of your hands. Now, the third thing that I want to talk about today is the lighting effect. Now, this was something that immediately my eye was drawn to it when I saw that this thing had it. It's a nice little feature to have. Makes you look a little bit more pricey, a little bit more expensive, a little bit more fashionable. When you're walking down the street with your Nintendo Switch, people are going to say, I don't know where he got those, but man, does he look fancy. Guys, this thing has 8 colored lights and a rainbow LED light with 3 breath modes. So you can look fancy all the time with your special light show. Now, the final thing I do want to talk about on this controller is that this thing does have turbo and mapping buttons. Turbo-wise, when you hit this button, you can map a button so that, you can get ultimate button presses out of it. I mean, press. So you get faster button presses with the turbo button. Now, the awesome thing about the mapping button is that you can use this button. There's 2 buttons on the back of this controller. And you can basically change any button on the controller to that back button. So it gives you options to switch up your controller scheme on games that don't allow you to do it, which is a really cool feature. I really like that a lot. And you can do so much stuff with that thing. The final thing I want to mention is the battery life. This thing does have a standard 8-hour battery life with a 20-hour standby time. Now, charging-wise, this thing takes about 2 to 3 hours to charge and get to a full charge. So you're getting basically standard with the battery. Pretty much all Nintendo controllers charge around that time and run around that time. So you're not sacrificing battery life or anything here. So you don't need to worry about that aspect of this controller. The only con that this thing has is that there is no amiibo support. I mentioned that already. I'm mentioning it here again. It's not a big deal to someone like me. I don't hardly ever use amiibos. I used it in Breath of the Wild a few times. And when I do play Breath of the Wild and I want to use an amiibo, all I do is pull out my regular Nintendo Switch controllers, scan it, and then go back to using this controller on my Nintendo Switch. So it's really not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things on the Nintendo Switch. Now to talk about is what I'm going to give this control on today's episode of Mumbles. Guys, Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, the whole gang would be very, very happy with this controller. And on today's episode of Mumbles, Mumbles is also very happy with it. It's getting a 5 out of 5 on today's Mumbles review. I love the quality of this thing. I love how it feels in my hand, and I love how things are bigger on it. And I also love that mapping button. That mapping button is one of my favorite things I've seen in a controller recently because of where it's located. It's easy to press with your back hands. It's just a fantastic little controller. The lights look cool. It's high quality. It feels good in my hands. It's not too rough on my fingers when I'm using the controller sticks. I can't say enough good things about this thing. If you have big hands like me, give this controller a try. 5 out of 5 on today's Mumbles review. Anyways, guys, this has been my review of the NYXi Nintendo Switch controller. I hope you guys all enjoyed this. Please smack that subscribe button, smack the like button, and smack all those buttons, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.